Hi, my dear English learners. Today I have a very interesting story for you. It's not just a story, it's a real life journey of a man who rose from a poor childhood to become one of the most powerful leaders in the world. His name is Vladimir Putin. No matter where you live or what you think about politics, there is always something we can learn from the stories of great leaders. So today, I want you to listen carefully, enjoy the story, and try to understand how language, history, and motivation come together. And my friends, please subscribe, like, and comment below. Don't forget to support me. Let's start the story. Part 1. Childhood and Teenage Years of Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin was born on October 7th, 1952, in a city called Leningrad. Today, that city is known as St. Petersburg. At that time, life in Leningrad was very hard. The city had been damaged during World War II. Many people were poor, and they had to live in small rooms, sometimes with other families. Putin's family was not rich. They lived in a shared apartment. The building was old. The bathroom and kitchen were shared with other families. They didn't have a lot of food or money. Life was very simple and difficult. Putin's father was a factory worker and had served in the war. His mother worked in different small jobs to support the family. Before Putin was born, his parents had lost two sons. Those boys had died when they were very young. So, when Vladimir was born, his parents loved him deeply and were very protective. They didn't want to lose another child. They raised him with strong values. They taught him to be strong, to work hard, and to never give up. As a child, Putin was full of energy. He liked running, climbing, and fighting. He often got into trouble at school and in the neighborhood. He was not very tall or strong, but he had a powerful spirit. He did not give up easily. Other boys respected him because he was brave. Putin also loved watching movies about spies. One day, he saw a movie about a Russian spy who worked secretly in other countries. That movie made a big impression on him. He told himself, "One day, I want to become a spy too." That dream stayed in his heart for many years. In school, Putin was not a perfect student. At first, he didn't care much about studying. He liked playing more than reading books. But when he got older, he understood that if he wanted to become a spy, he needed to be smart and educated. So he started studying more seriously. He worked hard in school and became a better student. At the same time, he joined a judo club. Judo is a type of martial art from Japan. It teaches people how to fight with control and discipline. Putin trained hard in judo. It helped him become stronger, both in body and in mind. He learned how to stay calm, how to think fast, and how to respect others. These skills helped him later in life, especially in politics and leadership. By the time Putin was a teenager, he had become more focused. He had a clear dream to serve his country and work in intelligence. He was no longer just a boy who liked to fight. He was becoming a young man with ambition, discipline, and determination. Part 2. Education and joining the KGB. As Vladimir Putin grew older, his dreams became stronger. He wanted to serve his country and protect it like the spies he had seen in the movies. But to do that, he knew he had to get a good education. After finishing school, Putin applied to Leningrad State University, one of the top universities in Russia. He studied law because he believed it would help him understand how the government worked. If he wanted to join the intelligence services, he needed to be smart, serious, and well-educated. At university, Putin was different from many students. He was quiet and didn't talk much, but he listened carefully. He didn't join in all the fun activities or parties. Instead, he focused on his classes and tried to learn as much as he could. He wasn't trying to be popular. He was preparing for something bigger. Some teachers noticed his discipline and intelligence. They said he was one of the most focused students they had ever taught. During his time at university, Putin also continued practicing judo. In fact, he became very good at it. He even won a black belt, which is a big achievement in martial arts. Judo gave him confidence, self-control, and the ability to make fast decisions under pressure. These skills would be very helpful in his future career. After graduating in 1975, Putin finally achieved his dream. He joined the KGB, the Soviet Union's main intelligence agency. The KGB was very powerful and secretive. It was responsible for spying, collecting information, and protecting the country from foreign threats. Joining the KGB was not easy. Only the best people were accepted. Putin had to go through special training and pass many tests. Putin began his KGB career in Leningrad. Later, he was sent to East Germany, where he lived in the city of Dresden. At that time, East Germany was under communist rule and close to the Soviet Union. Putin worked there as a KGB officer. His job was to collect information and make connections, but he had to do it in a quiet, secret way. It was not like in the movies. Real spy work was more about patience, planning, and staying invisible. He lived a normal life on the outside. He had a wife and later 2 daughters. He went to work, came home, and tried to live quietly. But inside, he was always alert, always thinking. He learned how to observe people, how to protect secrets, and how to act calm even when things were dangerous. In 1989, big changes started to happen in Europe. The Berlin Wall fell, and East Germany began to break away from Soviet control. For Putin, it was a very emotional time. Protesters were coming closer to the KGB building in Dresden. He called Moscow for help, but no one answered. That moment showed him something important. Sometimes the people in power are not ready, and you must act on your own. He and his team burned secret documents and protected the office until the protest was over. When the Soviet Union finally collapsed in 1991, the KGB lost its power. Putin returned to Russia, no longer a spy, but a man looking for a new path. He had learned many things during his time in the KGB: how to lead, how to be calm under pressure, and how to survive in difficult situations. Part 3. After the fall of the Soviet Union, a new path. In 1991, the world changed. The Soviet Union, a powerful country for many years, came to an end. The government collapsed, and a new country called the Russian Federation was born. For many people, this was a confusing and difficult time. The economy was broken. Jobs were lost. Prices went up quickly. Many people had no money, no food, and no future. Vladimir Putin also faced a big change. The KGB, where he had worked for many years, was no longer the same. Its power and structure had been destroyed. Putin had to leave his life as a spy behind. He returned to his home city, Leningrad, now called St. Petersburg. He needed to start a new chapter in his life. But he was not a man who gave up. He was ready to find another way to serve his country. In 1991, Putin met a man named Anatoly Sobchak. Sobchak was a professor and a politician. He had been one of Putin's teachers at university. Now he was the mayor of St. Petersburg. Sobchak trusted Putin and offered him a job in the city government. Putin accepted. He became the head of international relations for the city. It was a big job for someone new to politics, but Putin worked hard and showed great discipline. In this role, Putin helped bring foreign investments into St. Petersburg. He helped organize trade and deals with companies from other countries. He was quiet, efficient, and loyal. Many people in the city government noticed his skills. He didn't like the spotlight, but he got things done. He also became known for being very loyal to his boss, Mayor Sobchak. This loyalty was something people would always remember about him. While working in city government, Putin also continued to grow his network. He met many important people in politics, business, and security. He understood how the new Russia was forming. He didn't speak much, but he listened and learned. He knew how to read people, how to plan ahead, and how to make smart moves. But in 1996, Sobchak lost his position as mayor. Many of Sobchak's team had to leave as well. Putin was out of a job again. However, his hard work and discipline had been noticed by people in Moscow, the capital of Russia. Not long after, he received an invitation to come and work for the national government. In Moscow, Putin took on different jobs in the presidential administration. He worked behind the scenes, managing offices and systems. He was not famous yet, but he was climbing the ladder quickly. People in power began to trust him. They saw that he was loyal, smart, and serious. He didn't talk too much. He just worked, and he worked well. In 1998, Putin's life took another big turn. He was made the head of the FSB, the new version of the KGB. This was a powerful position. Putin knew the system well because he had been a spy before. He used his knowledge to organize the agency and make it stronger. People now saw him as a strong man, someone who could bring order in a time of chaos. By 1999, President Boris Yeltsin, the leader of Russia, was becoming weaker. He was sick and tired. The country was facing many problems. Corruption was everywhere. The people were unhappy. Yeltsin needed someone he could trust, someone strong and loyal, to take over the government. He looked at Vladimir Putin. In August 1999, Yeltsin made a surprising move. He chose Putin to become the new prime minister of Russia. Most people in the country didn't know who Putin was. He was quiet, not famous, and had never been a public speaker. But Yeltsin saw something in him: discipline, loyalty, and strength. Putin accepted the challenge. He didn't smile much or make big speeches, but in his eyes, people saw confidence. He spoke in a calm, direct way. He promised to bring order back to Russia. People started to listen, and very soon, the whole world would know his name. Part 4. Becoming President: Putin's Rise to Power. In the year 1999, Russia was in deep trouble. The economy was weak, many people were poor, and the country was still trying to recover from the fall of the Soviet Union. There was also a war happening in a region called Chechnya. People were tired of chaos and wanted a strong leader. That's when Vladimir Putin entered the spotlight. On December 31st, 1999, something surprising happened. President Boris Yeltsin suddenly resigned from his job. In a short speech, he said he was stepping down and that Vladimir Putin would become the acting president of Russia. Most people in the country were shocked. They didn't know much about Putin. He had worked behind the scenes, not in public. But now, he was the leader of the country. From the beginning, Putin showed a serious and powerful image. He spoke with calm confidence. He said he would bring order back to Russia. He promised to make the country strong again. Many people liked what they heard. After years of weakness and confusion, Russians wanted someone who could protect them and give them pride. Just a few months later, in March 2000, Putin ran in the presidential election. He won with more than 50% of the votes. At just 47 years old, he officially became the president of Russia. It was a big moment, not just for him, but for the whole country. A man who once lived in a shared apartment and worked as a spy was now leading one of the biggest countries in the world. As president, Putin moved quickly. He focused on rebuilding the government. He wanted to control the powerful businessmen who had taken over after the fall of the Soviet Union. These men were called oligarchs, and they had become rich by buying parts of the old Soviet system. Putin told them, "You can keep your money, but you must stay out of politics." Some agreed, others did not. Those who didn't follow his rules lost their power or had to leave the country. Putin also focused on Chechnya, where a violent conflict was going on. He sent in the military and took strong actions. Many people supported this move because they wanted peace and security. But human rights groups said too many innocent people were hurt. Still, Putin's popularity grew. People saw him as a strong leader who didn't back down. Another thing Putin did was bring back national pride. He talked about the greatness of Russia and its history. He showed respect for the military and the Russian flag. He made people feel proud to be Russian again. For many citizens, it was the first time in years that they felt hope. In 2004, Putin ran for a second term. Again, he won with a large number of votes. During his second term, the Russian economy improved. Oil prices were high, and Russia made more money. With this money, the government paid salaries, pensions, and built new infrastructure. Many Russians felt that their lives were finally getting better. But at the same time, Putin became more powerful. He changed laws to give the central government more control. Some people worried that democracy in Russia was getting weaker. Journalists and political opponents who criticized the government sometimes disappeared or were punished. Still, many Russians supported him because they believed he brought stability and strength. In 2008, after serving 2 terms, Putin followed the Russian law and stepped down. But he didn't leave power. Instead, his close ally Dmitry Medvedev became president, and Putin became prime minister. Most people believed Putin was still the one truly in charge. He continued to lead the country, just from a different seat. Then in 2012, Putin ran for president again. The law had changed, so now the presidential term was 6 years instead of 4. He won again. Even though there were protests and people who wanted change, Putin remained the most powerful man in Russia. Part 5: Power, Politics, and a Changing World. After returning to the presidency in 2012, Vladimir Putin faced a very different Russia and a very different world. The country was no longer as poor or broken as in the 1990s, but many people had new hopes and demands. They wanted more freedom, more fairness, and a stronger voice in government. Thousands of people came into the streets to protest the election results. They said the voting was not fair. But Putin stood strong. He promised stability, security, and a future for the Russian people. During his third term, Putin became more focused on making Russia powerful again, not just inside the country, but around the world. He wanted Russia to be respected, feared, and taken seriously by the West. In 2014, a major event happened that shocked the world. Russia took control of Crimea, a part of Ukraine. Putin said this was to protect the Russian people living there and to correct a mistake from the past. Many Russians supported this action. They saw it as a victory. But most of the world disagreed. The United States and European countries said it was illegal and placed economic sanctions on Russia. These sanctions made life harder in Russia. Prices went up, and many businesses suffered. But Putin used this moment to speak to the people's emotions. He talked about national pride, independence, and not being controlled by the West. He said Russia would stand strong, even if it had to stand alone. His popularity stayed high. Many Russians believed in his message. At the same time, Putin worked to increase Russia's role in global politics. In Syria, he supported the government during a long and violent civil war. Russian jets and soldiers helped fight against rebel groups. This gave Russia more influence in the Middle East. Putin showed the world that Russia was back on the international stage and ready to use its power. Inside Russia, Putin kept a tight grip on control. He changed the law again, allowing himself to run for more terms in the future. He also made it harder for opposition leaders and independent journalists to speak freely. Some of them were arrested. Others left the country. Critics said Russia was no longer a free country, but many Russians said they preferred stability over chaos. In 2018, Putin was re-elected once more. He promised to modernize the economy, improve education, and build better health care. But challenges continued. The economy slowed down. People grew tired of low wages and high prices. Younger Russians, especially in big cities, started asking for more freedom and better opportunities. Then came 2020, and the world was hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. Like many other countries, Russia faced lockdowns, sickness, and fear. Putin tried to show leadership during this crisis, but it was a difficult time. Many people criticized how the government handled the virus. Yet Putin remained in control. In 2021, a new law passed that allowed Putin to stay in power until 2036 if he chose to run again. This meant he could become one of the longest-serving leaders in Russian history. Some people celebrated this. Others were worried. They asked, is one man having so much power good for the country? In 2022, another major event shocked the world. Russia invaded Ukraine. Putin said it was to protect Russian people and to stop NATO, a group of Western countries, from coming too close to Russia's borders. But many countries saw it as an act of war. Thousands of soldiers and civilians died. Millions of people ran away from Ukraine. Once again, countries around the world placed heavy sanctions on Russia. They stopped doing business and froze Russian money in foreign banks. The war made life harder for many Russians. But Putin stayed strong in his message. He said Russia was fighting for its safety and future. He blamed the West for the conflict. Inside the country, people were divided. Some supported the war. Others were afraid to speak against it. Even with all these challenges, Putin's control remained strong. He had built a system where loyalty was rewarded and opposition was pushed aside. He used media, law, and military power to stay at the top. Whether people loved or feared him, one thing was clear. Vladimir Putin had become one of the most powerful and longest ruling leaders in modern Russian history. Part 6. A Man of Power. Lessons from Putin's Journey. Vladimir Putin's life is not a simple story. It is a journey full of challenges, risks, and power. From a poor boy in Leningrad to the president of one of the most powerful countries in the world, his path was shaped by discipline, strategy, and a strong will. One of the most important things we learn from his story is how he always adapted to change. When the Soviet Union ended, many people lost their jobs and gave up. But Putin did not. He found a new way to serve. When he left the KGB, he started working in city government. When that ended, he moved to Moscow and climbed higher. He never stopped. He kept moving forward. This is a lesson for all of us. When life changes, we must also change and move ahead. Another lesson is about discipline and focus. Putin was not the loudest person in the room. He was not a showman. He listened more than he spoke. He worked quietly but effectively. His discipline and control helped him win the trust of powerful people. Many successful people in the world are not the most famous. They are the most focused. Putin's rise shows how important it is to stay calm, work hard, and stay loyal. But his story also teaches us about the cost of power. As Putin became more powerful, many freedoms inside Russia became weaker. Critics were silenced. Protests were stopped. The media was controlled. Some people say this is the price of strong leadership. Others say it is dangerous. This shows us that power, when not balanced, can become a problem. Freedom, respect, and justice must be protected, even when the leader is strong. Putin's actions outside Russia also changed the world. His decision to take Crimea and to go to war in Ukraine made him a hero to some and a villain to others. These actions created fear and conflict. They also showed the world that Russia, under Putin, would not be silent or passive. He wanted Russia to be strong, independent, and proud. But the cost was high. Lives were lost. Economies suffered, and people became divided. Today, Putin remains in power. He is a symbol of strength for many Russians. For others, he is a warning about what can happen when one man has too much control. His story is still being written. We do not know what the future will bring. Will he lead Russia for many more years? Will there be change? Only time will tell. As language learners, we can learn more than just words from this story. We can learn about leadership, history, and human nature. Putin's life shows us the power of ambition and strategy, but it also reminds us of the importance of kindness, fairness, and listening to others. Every leader, no matter how strong, must serve the people, not just control them. In the end, Putin's story is not only about Russia. It is about the world. It is about how one person can shape history. It is about choices, some that build and some that break. And it is a reminder to all of us that every decision we make, big or small, can change the future. And my friends, don't forget to subscribe me. If you like this story, please like and comment below. Thanks for watching. See you in next story.